You're listening to Real Coaching Radio TV, building a positive network.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Kids Talk Foundation, a global nonprofit organization providing youth advocacy, television programming, and training services in the United States, along with comprehensive medical and educational services for the developing world, most recently in Kenya, Africa, where Kids Talk Foundation provides a feeding program, medical care, and educational services to over 1,300 young people each day. Please help our youth and place your donation. Go to www.kidstalk.org. Are you in the entertainment industry? If you answered yes and you want to promote yourself, your passion, and profession, check out Creative Independent Artist magazines at CIAartists.com. Endorsed by Kids Talk Foundation worldwide. You can hear shows from Real Coaching Radio TV network while on the go with Stitcher Smart Radio. Stitcher is a free news and talk mobile app available for your smartphones, smart TVs, and cars. And when you download Stitcher to hear shows from Real Coaching Radio TV network, you have a chance to win some money. Downloading is quick and easy. Just find Stitcher in the App Store. Download it. It's free and just takes a few seconds. Then, during registration, hit the promo code box and enter RCRN to get automatically entered to win $100. The latest episode of the shows will be waiting for you in your favorites. You'll get access to lots of other amazing shows too, always available to you on demand. No syncing. It's Stitcher Smart Radio. Don't forget to enter promo code RCRN when you register at www.stitcher.com/RCRN.
Hey, hello everybody. My name is Lo White, and as you know, host of Your Money and Your Mindset, with each week I bring you very interesting guests in the flesh, real life people with real life experiences who share with you what it is to create wealth, how they got there, and they are no different from you or anybody else sitting in this room. Okay? So these are ordinary people who've done extraordinary things. Now, my philosophy of being financially independent includes good health, having the wherewithal to enjoy your health, your wealth, learning how to generate money in a way that is sustainable, and also being in the frame of mind that says, I will enjoy this. It's not one big, hard slog. Now, as you know, there are various ways that we can become independently wealthy. Some of the more conventional ones are to invest in property, do it wisely, be a stock trader, so in equities, or owning a business, not running a business, but owning the business, okay? And I'm going to put forward to you today that Forex trading, one of my favorite subjects, it is possible to turn it into a business, provided you know what the rules are and you follow the rules. And the person who makes or breaks that whole deal is you. So I've got my special guest here, the expert, who is Mr. Jason Stapleton, who is the founder of Triple Threat Trading. He's a professional trader, and he mentors people who aspire to become profitable, successful Forex traders, and who have the capacity to learn, who are teachable. So welcome, Mr. Jason Stapleton. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on your show.
Oh, it's going to be a very interesting show because you're an interesting person, because I followed what you've been doing, and I'd like you to, in a sense, give us the background on who you are first and how you became a Forex trader.
Fair enough. When I graduated high school, I joined the Marine Corps. That's the short version of it. Is I went into the Marines, and when I got out of the Marines, when I was in the Marines, I did mainly military type stuff, which you would think Marines would do, which is, I rolled around in the mud a lot, and I learned how to shoot guns and learned how to do a bunch of stuff that most of the world doesn't really find valuable. And when I got out of the military, I realized that I didn't have a lot of tangible skills. and a lot of different opportunities, that you think about going back to college or, becoming a police officer or some of those natural transitions that people coming out of the military do. And instead of doing those things, I actually took my skill set and went back overseas to places like Iraq and Afghanistan, and I did a lot of consulting work and security work there during the wars. And what that did was it provided me both a lot of free time and the financial resources to pursue a passion. And my passion, of course, was trading. And I didn't start out in Forex. That was something I gravitated to over time as I kind of found my niche. But that's the really short version of how I ended up where I am.
Okay, so I also followed you in some of the newsletters you wrote. Now, you actually are seeing the big picture. Okay, we can talk about America at the moment and the economy as such, and the fact that nowadays we live in a global economy. You cannot just isolate a country or a town and say that whatever problems they have there are just relative to them. Now, you sound to me like a man who's actually very passionate about the future and the road your country is going down. I'd like you to talk to my viewers about the effect of money printing or quantitative easing and really the ramifications, because I don't think many people realize what that means to them, their livelihoods, their financial security, the security of their families.
Well, that's a complex question. I will try and give you the least complicated answer that I can. The short answer, the easy answer, is quantitative easing is nothing more than the federal government, in our case the Federal Reserve, which is not actually the federal government, but the Federal Reserve deciding it is going to increase the supply of money. So it's going to increase the number of dollars in circulation, and that does that a couple of different ways. It can buy bonds with it. It can adjust balance sheets on in the computer system so that it provides more liquidity to banks, and it can actually go through the function of printing money. When money is printed and when it finds its way into the economy, you have more dollars in circulation, and that leads to a lower value of each individual dollar. So what you see is inflation. Now that doesn't always occur, and what's happening right now is we're globally in what would be considered a very deleveraging economy. And what it means to be a deleveraging economy means that there's a lot of debt out there, and that debt's got to be paid down. And it doesn't really matter whether you're talking about Europe or Great Britain or Japan or the United States. All of them have massive amounts of debt and unfunded liabilities. And at some point, that debt is going to come due. Because of that, you're seeing a contraction in the economy. So people are not spending as much as you would typically expect them to in a growing economy. So that has tamped down inflation to this point. At some point, people will start spending again. And when they start spending again, you're going to see inflation kick in, and the Federal Reserve or the ECB or whoever is doing the monetary printing is going to have to step in and attempt to raise interest rates in order to control that inflation. Now, whether they'll be able to do that or not is really yet to be seen. But as we've seen from someplace like Japan, you can have extended periods of very high debt with little to no inflation at all, and so that's a very complex answer, I guess, or simplest answer I can provide to the complex question like that.
Okay, but in the main, if somebody heard that, they'll say, all right, Jason, you just told me, the theoretical considerations. How do I protect my family, basically, and can I do it by learning from you trading Forex? Well,
the answer, possibly. Milton Friedman said that the only security against inflation is high living. What he means by that is the only way to protect yourself from inflation is to spend your money. And so if you can't protect yourself from inflation for any other way than just spending every dollar that you've got, then you've got to take some steps to kind of grow your wealth in advance of inflation. Inflation historically in the United States is somewhere around 3 to 4%. And so when we take a look at inflation, you need your money to return better than 4% a year over year in order just to meet the rate of inflation. Now, what I've decided to do, or what I do, is I work with people who have an interest in the markets, who want to achieve higher returns, or who want to make a transition from the work that they're doing now into more of a full-time trading or investing capacity. And we teach skill sets around that help people produce higher returns. And so how do you protect yourself from inflation? I'll give you one answer to that. I think that real estate is a good inflationary hedge. I think that when you buy real estate, if inflation occurs, your property values increase as well, and that will at least control your inflation costs, and as the inflation goes up, your properties mature. Now, that's not a very good way to grow wealth unless you're expecting property values to increase above the rate of inflation, or unless you can get some sort of rental compensation from that as well, if you can rent out the space. What I do specifically is work in the currency markets in order to try and attain 10, 15, 20, in some cases 50 to 70% returns per year on the money invested there. And so it's just one more vehicle for someone to use.
Okay, now when somebody hears that, rental returns, investment properties, you're lucky if you get 7%, 9% gross in Australia anyway, and you're talking about, an order of magnitude above that. Now, people's heads are going to be spinning at that very thought, because immediately there'll be a voice that kicks in that says, ooh, higher risks, higher returns. So how do you hedge that, and how do you control, or how do you manage your own emotions? Because trading is about understanding ourselves and what makes us tick. So how did you learn to do that, to be a successful long-term trader?
Well, I think that trading is rather counterintuitive, and I think people struggle for a very long time. And although I think everyone possesses the capacity to learn the skills, anyone with a grade school education can learn the technical skill and can do the math that would be necessary in order to be a successful trader. What it really comes down to is exactly what you talked about, which is the psychological side of it. And because trading is so counterintuitive, some people are just have a lot of difficulty with it, because most of the time when you should be buying, you feel like you should be selling, and vice versa. And the way you overcome that, in my estimation, and the way I overcame those types of issues, was to spend a whole lot of time working on it. And it took me a lot of years to figure out kind of how the market works, and why it's so important that when you feel that natural desire to exit positions or to enter positions, that you have to take a step back and say, okay, does this fit into my rules? Does it fit into my plan? If you have a business plan, or if you're buying real estate, or whatever it is that you're running a business, whatever you're doing, you've got a protocol there that you're using in order to evaluate opportunity. And we do the same thing in trading. We evaluate opportunity, and we only want to take advantage of opportunities that provide us a significant opportunity for a rather limited amount of risk. And when we can identify those and we can act accordingly, we stand to make a very nice profit. What I've tried to do in my business, in educating other traders, is to take what took me close to 10 years to put together, and to try and teach it to someone in a very short period of time. To teach them the shortcuts that are going to help them, get from point A to point B faster than I was able to. Now, it still requires a lot of work. I need to put an emphasis on the amount of work that's involved, and it has to be a passion. But if you combine passion with a desire to learn, and just a fundamental understanding of math, then all it comes down to is discipline.
So you need discipline, you need persistence, you need passion, and it's all very good to say, yes, I want to make money for the sake of making money, but that really isn't the point. You did it because you've got a bigger picture. Your why would be probably your family, making sure that they are looked after, your financial future is secured. I mean, do you actually talk about that with people who want to trade, or do they think it's just irrelevant?
Yeah, no, one of the first things that I ask guys who come to me is, is this what you're really passionate about? Because it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be something that you pick up in the next 30 days, or that you go through a 2-week course and bam, now you're good, and now you're going to go out and make money. it's something that's going to take some time, and you're going to have to apply a little bit of effort. And for some people, that just doesn't. You don't sell a lot of cars telling people that hey, you're going to really have to treat this thing right. Man, you're going to have to take it in for the oil changes every month, or it's going to break down on you. But in reality, what's going to make someone successful is someone who has a love and a passion for it, and it's not all about the money. There was a time in my life when money was really important because there were bills that were due. And I'd be amiss if I said that money isn't important now. It does have its place, but money is only important to somebody who doesn't have any. Once you've got a little bit of money, money only solves the problems that not having money creates. And so now you start to look at your life in a little different way, and you say, well, okay, now I know I can make money. What is my life really about? If making money is the only thing that my life is about, then I'm going to live a very shallow existence. And so before somebody even gets into a program or we start working with someone, I really personally want to know, is this what you're passionate about? Because if it's not, then go do something that you are passionate about. Go find that one thing that you want to do more than anything else on earth and do that. And if you do that well and you spend your time and efforts and energies focused in that direction, money tends to follow that. And so I try and move people away from trading if it's not really what they want to do. And what I tend to find is that the people who are coming and seeking me out with my message tend to have already been through all of the quick fix and pitchy sort of charlatans. And they're at a place now where they really are committed and they're ready to say, yeah, this is what I want to do. That's why I'm still here. And that makes it much easier then to start working with them and start building them up the way they should be.
So did you get to the stage where 10 years is a long haul and that's serious commitment? Did you know that this was the one and only thing you wanted to do? I mean, yeah, rolling around in the dirt and shooting guns is one thing, and obviously that's not where your passion is. But did you have to go through a series of steps to arrive at this?
I was in actually Iraq at the time when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And I'm reading some books, some stuff by Tony Robbins, and I'm reading some stuff by Robert Kiyosaki. And I started asking myself more empowering questions. Tony talks about it, asking yourself better questions, you get better responses. And I asked what is probably the most important thing and most important question I'd ever asked myself. And the question was, if I could do anything in the world, if I had to wake up every day and do the same thing for the rest of my life, what would I want to do? And I said, well, I would want to be involved in the financial markets somehow. I don't know if I wanted to be a broker or if I wanted to start a hedge fund, or I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I loved that, and that's what I wanted to pursue. And I figured, well, if I want to pursue the financial markets, I better learn how financial markets work. And that's what started me on that journey, but it was asking that initial question that was the most important piece of the process. Once after that, the road became clear. Jim Rohn says, destination determines direction. So when you know where you want to go, it's easier to chart a path there. And so I would challenge anybody who's listening to this who kind of is at a miss and doesn't really know what they want to do with their lives or what they want to be when they grow up, to say, what would I do? What would my life look like if I had to choose one thing? And find out what your real passion is and then pursue that. Okay.
Did you get that from, let's say, your immediate family, as in you had conversations around money, you had conversations around, like, Jason, what do you want to do when you grow up? Or was that not talked about in your family?
Well, we didn't discuss it in the way that I just shared it with you. I grew up relatively poor. Not to make it sound more than it is, but we didn't have any money when I was growing up. I grew up in a very loving family with a mother and father who cared a great deal about me, but we didn't have any money. And so, I was expected to kind of follow a traditional path of college and finding a good job and getting good benefits and those types of things. And it's kind of funny because in order to achieve a very high level in whatever aspect of your life that you choose to pursue, you have to be willing to step out on a ledge at some point. And that basically what that means is that if you're looking for the secure job with the good health benefits and the biggest vacation time, you might end up being successful. You might end up being the CEO of that company one day. But unless you're willing to throw all that away and say, look, I'm going to step out on a ledge and I'm going to pursue my passion, and I don't know what I'm going to do about healthcare, and I'm not going to have any vacation time, and I'm not real sure how I'm going to pay the rent, but I'm going to do it because I don't want to look back on my life and wonder what if. And I think that if I had to learn something from my family, it was that I didn't want to end my life wondering what if. What if I had just tried it? What if I had just given it an effort? You know, what could I have possibly achieved in my life if I had just given a little bit more, risked a little bit more? Imagine the man that I could have become. I didn't want to have that conversation with myself as my life came to a close. And so that's really what pushed me and drove me into, taking some risks that have up until now paid off.
Wow, that's great. So does that mean that you're okay with failures and you treat it like feedback? Like somebody once said, don't call failure failure. It's not final. It's only final if you say so, and you agree with it. But just treat it as something along the lines, I tried this, it didn't quite work out. I might, rejig the way I do it or go down a different path.
No, I mean, I fail every day. Only about 6 out of every 10 trades that I take make any money. The rest of them lose money.
Well, your odds are in your favor at 6 out of 10.
Well, I know it is, as long as you can continue to trade the plan. If you don't trade the plan, then you never know when the losers are going to come. So lots of times you get 8 or 10 or 12 in a row, and those start to stack up because it doesn't always break itself up into 60-40. And so it becomes very much so something that you have to maintain consistency and discipline with. But I think that being able to view life in terms of opportunity and taking calculated risks in your life. I see a lot of people take non-calculated risks where they just like, I'm just going to quit my job and I'll figure out what I'm going to do, or they step into a business without really knowing anything about it. And I think that you have to really be calculated with your risks. But if you do that and you lay it on the line, you've got I think you do that enough, you've got a chance of being successful. In terms of failure, it's amazing. The harder I work, the more things I try, the more things I fail at, the more successful I become. I learned a lot of ways not to do things. And that goes for both my trading business and for the education business that we run, because, we service, I have thousands of clients. And, we're constantly trying different things, and some of them work and some of them don't. And I lose money every day. But because I'm willing to fail, I can learn how to do things and learn to improve myself. So I've heard it talked about a lot of different ways. Don't call it failure, call it falling forward, whatever you want to do. Fact is that you're going to have the utter failures in your life. You're going to have things that are just like, you fail on an epic scale. The important thing is just to pick yourself back up and try it again and realize that, hey, it doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just means you couldn't do it that time or that way, and you need to find a new way to do it.
So does that mean that, I find that people who've got good sense of self-esteem are able to do that better than people who feel as though, I'm done, it's all over, it's, quit, go back to a day job kind of thing. You talk like a person who says, in a sense, it's like giving them the finger kind of thing, I'm not giving up, I'm just going to keep going.
Well, the hardest thing was actually when I started my education business, because that's when you start doing videos and kind of putting your ideas out there, and you start asking people to invest in you, and you say, look, I think I can help you if you'll just come to me and you'll trust what I'm teaching you. and you start to see, some of the people who comment about you when you start putting that out there. I mean, I'm talking about people who've never talked to you, who've never had any relationship with you, who've never been through anything that you've done, but who just say the most vile and just hateful and hurtful things about you. And I'm sure you know this, being in, the online business, that, man, people will just rip you up and down. And I can remember just feeling terrible and wanting to quit and just saying, look, I don't need this. I'm here. I'm actually trying to help people. I have a genuine interest in helping people be successful. And all I read about here is all these people who are calling me nasty names. And it was a conscious decision to say, I am going to do this because I feel like this is what I'm being called to do. It's what I want to do and what my passion is, and I'm going to choose not to allow that to affect me. Stephen Covey said, between stimulus and response lies our freedom to choose, and that means we don't get to choose what happens to us, but we do get to choose how we respond to that. And so my response was just to never read any blog posts or anything where anybody talked negatively about me. I just said, look, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to do what I know is right and what I feel is right and what I feel I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm going to do that the best I can. And if people don't like that, give them the proverbial finger, I guess, and just continue to do what you love. Because now I get a whole lot of people who ask me, how do I get to where you are? I get a lot of people who ask me questions about, man, you're 33 years old. How were you able to achieve so much in such a short period of time? And then we start talking about those things. So I've had a chance not only to talk to people about trading and help people improve their lives there, but to actually help people with other businesses and help direct people in thought processes and all the positive thinking that you have to go through and have to suffer through in order to achieve a level of success that other people will envy.
Yeah, I noticed that you also quoted a whole bunch of names of people in the personal development industry, and you obviously, like you said, you've read the books and you've taken on board the information. I believe that to be a leader, you have to be a reader. So you've got to, and to be a leader of yourself, basically, to start with, you've got to read. So can you just share with us other authors that you love, and because of their work and because they're inspirational and because you get all these little gems of wisdom out of that from them?
Yeah. For me, guys, like I'm big on the personal development stuff, and I know that's like some people are very like anti that. Those guys are full of hogwash. I have garnered a great deal of, I guess, support because what you're going to find is that as you try to improve yourself, as you try and grow as a person and try and grow your business and start focusing on success, there's going to be no shortage of people who are there to tell you what isn't possible. And you're going to need a whole lot of support to get over that. And so guys like Jim Rohn, like Zig Ziglar, guys like Tony Robbins, and those are just good core things to be listening to. I'm a big fan of Robert Kiyosaki. I like what he's done on the business side of things and the way he tells that story. Some of the other guys, I can rattle off books if you want, but those are some of the really influential people that kind of crafted my development as a person and as a business owner.
So in this case, you've taken on board what they've said and actually done something with it. So I know of people who are what you call seminar junkies. They go to everything and anything, but no implementation. So how did you make that leap from, this is really great information and I'll forget about it on Monday, to actually doing it?
Yeah, that's kind of funny, because when we started when I started the online, when I started coaching, I didn't know anything about the internet. I knew literally nothing, and I just thought, well, I wonder if I could set up a website. And I did a little bit of research, and I found a WordPress site, and I set up a free one. And then I can remember I was sitting in Afghanistan with just terrible internet, and I'm learning how to change the background color on my website by Googling HTML code. and learning how to code. So I'm learning how to code, and I'm learning how to do all this. And for me, it was a labor of love, because I was moving towards my passion. And it is a sad thing that you see a lot of seminar junkies, and we see it in our business. About 80% of the people that we end up working with take little to no action with the information that we give them. 50%.
Do you want to kick them on the bum?
What's that?
Do you want to kick them on the bum?
Yeah, it's. I try and tell them. I say it only works if you take action, and I don't know. I still struggle. We've come to the point now in the education business that I run now that I will only we seek out, and we do this through a filtering process. We make it very difficult to really get high up into our coaching programs, because we want to try and figure out who are the 20%. Who are the 20% who are going to actually take action? Because morally and ethically, I don't want to take money from people who aren't going to use what I give them. And more than that, I don't want to waste my time. I want a slew of success stories. I want 90% of the people who come to me achieving their goals. And the easiest way for me to do that is to try and filter on the front end who those people are. But if you're not going to take any action, you can pretty much forget about it. And there's actually a psychological reason for this that I've done a lot of research on it. Most people, the act of buying the program, the act of attending the seminar, the act of taking the scrupulous notes, they confuse activity with accomplishment. And so they're confusing the fact that they're there and they bought the stuff and they're writing down all the notes and they're putting it all together with actually accomplishing something. And at the end of the day, they've accomplished nothing. They go back home, they think, look at how great this is, look at all the stuff that I learned. Whenever I get done with a training program, whether it be for my business or whether it be for my trading, because I still do actively take training courses, I look at, okay, what are the 2 or 3 things that I know I can implement right now? What are the 2 or 3 things that I can immediately see how this fits and I can start applying? You have to do that. If you don't do that, you're flushing your money down the toilet.
You're basically spinning your wheels, and in a sense, it's sadder because you're actually sort of telling yourself a story, isn't it? That you are actually achieving when you're not. Like you say, it's the action, the implementing is important. So do you help them with that, as in, like a coach would ring them up and say, hey, have you done ABC yet? And if not, why not?
Yeah, depending on where they're at with us, and I at this point we've got a lot of people that I've trained who are now profitable and successful traders, and some of them have come back to us and said, hey, I would like to teach, I would like to help you guys in your mission, because we have a very big why. People who come to us understand why we do what we do, why I teach and why I coach, and people who get that and who understand that, hey, this is more about just than making money. This is about your life counting for something, and in some small way we're pursuing our passion and we're making our life count. And so for people who come back to me and say, hey, I have those same passions, I try and find a way to plug them in. And so we've got live trading rooms and things like that successful traders run, and I tend to work with just upper echelon people who have already come up through the rungs, so to speak. And at that point, I do provide them quite a bit. In our mastermind coaching session, we have 2 mastermind meetings a year where I meet with some successful traders who have come through our programs who now manage money. And then in our upper level coaching programs, I spend a great deal of time checking on people and saying, hey, have you done this? Did you complete the trading plan? What issues are you running into? Did you take the trades? And working through that process with them, making sure as best I can that they are, that they're following the plan. Okay,
so you got 80% who sort of think it's a good idea and 20% who actually go out and do it. Are the 20% then the teachable ones, the ones who are receptive, the ones who come with an air of like humility, not humiliation, but humility, wanting to learn rather than say, I know it all, you can't show me anything I haven't done before. The I know that syndrome?
Yeah, and what I do is I ask people to set aside for 90 days or for 120 days or however long we're in a coaching program for. So just set aside what you know or what you think you know and do it my way for 90 days. And if after 90 days, hey, you think there's a couple of things in there that you liked and you're going to toss out the rest, okay. but at least give me the 90 days. And you do find that the people who come with a sense of humility are much more successful. And, I built multi-million-dollar businesses, and I've been a very successful trader. And I still, when I come to the table, come to it always in the sense of, okay, what can I take away? What does this guy know? What piece of information does he have that I'm going to be able to apply? One of the best pieces of information, or one of the best quotes that I heard, was from someone I used to work for. And he said, if you come in and you know more than me, he's like, you can be in charge. Because he said, pretty soon, I'm going to learn everything you know, and then I'm going to know what I know, and I'm going to know what you know. And he very much approached it from, if I'm not the smartest guy in the room, I'll sit down and listen. Even I may know a lot, but I'm going to sit down and listen. And so I've always tried to approach it that way in my own life and surround myself with people who are far better equipped to provide advice and counsel on their specific area of expertise than me, and then to try and draw from that.
Okay, so you almost have to say, please check your ego at the door on the way in.
Yeah, and there's going to be a sense of that, because people who become entrepreneurs are very much alpha male, and we see that in the trading space as well. But it's important that if you want to grow, that you come to it as a student, and you come to it with a desire to learn and to grow, and instead of coming to it thinking that you know it all with your nose in the air, saying, okay, what's this guy going to teach me I don't already know?
And so in terms of the people who turn up to you, what is the breakdown between males and females?
We're significantly weighted towards males. I don't know if that's because that's who we tend to attract, or that's who I attract. I'm kind of rough around the edges a bit because of my military background, and so it takes a certain type of person to tolerate me, I think. But we see about 20% of our clientele as women and about 80% as men.
Okay, and of which, in the breakdown of being teachable and successful, what's the breakdown again, males and females?
There's almost no difference. In our mastermind group, we have a nice, it's probably, again, split up about 20% women and 80% male. So I see no difference in teachability between males and females.
Okay, even if they swear like a trooper, it doesn't matter.
That's right.
Okay, so this is what you're saying to me here. It sounds like you have a lot of self-awareness, and the point is, do you actually do something like, I know some people go away and meditate, or they spend quiet time with it, with no noise, no distractions, and they sit with themselves literally. Some people might think it's a bit woo-woo, but I find that it is actually very productive in terms of beneficial for my sense of who I am and my direction. Do you do that?
I do. I do it in a little bit different way. Napoleon Hill talks about daily meditation, and I think it's a habit that everyone should get into, just to kind of quiet your mind, because as your business grows and as you grow as a human being, as you start a family, I have 4 little kids. It's very loud a lot of the time, and having a chance to step away, I like to go and just hit golf balls. I like golf. I don't stink at it, so it's not like I'm constantly hitting them into the rough. But I like to just go to the range and hit golf balls for an hour or an hour and a half, and just let my mind wander. And that's kind of how I do it.
Okay, and are you aware of the fact that you think certain things over and over again? Almost like in a loop, and do you find that that's beneficial for you, or the thoughts are, gee, I could do it better another way?
Are you talking about, just like constantly thinking through, positive thoughts, or are you speaking more specifically about something else?
Yeah, about thoughts. The talk you have, the self-talk. What do you find yourself hearing?
Oh yeah, self-talk is really important, and I think that goes back to what Tony Robbins talks about in terms of asking more empowering questions. I think that there is a huge difference, and this applies to trading as well. If you're going to sit at your desk and talk about, well, man, why do I suck so bad? Why can't I ever get it right? Why am I always such a failure? Why is my life so bad? Your mind will find an answer to that question if it has to invent one. That's the way your subconscious works. And so if you're able to ask more empowering questions of yourself, like, how do I improve my life? How do I make more money? How do I solve this problem? How do I overcome this obstacle? Rather than saying, why are these obstacles in my way? You're going to achieve a lot more in your life. And it's amazing how many answers come about when you ask the right questions. I think that one of the things I've noticed about myself is that I tend to view life very differently than other people. I view risk very differently than other people. And because of that, I think that I've been able to kind of achieve more in less time in terms of business and financially.
Okay, you want to share that as in how you see risks versus the average person who sees risk as loss, therefore failure, panic, shutting down?
Yeah, I think it starts with an understanding that people who are successful are not better than you. I am not better than the guy who's trying to become a successful trader. Because I'm not better than the guy who's had 3 failed businesses. I had 2 failed businesses before I started trading full time. Because they don't know more than you, they're not smarter than you, they don't possess or have a capacity for greatness that in somehow is superior to yours. Within all of us, we all possess a capacity for greatness. And I think that the sooner you understand that and accept that, the farther you're going to go. So it starts with understanding that you can do it. That the people who've been successful don't possess some sort of special innate gift that you don't have. Once you're through that, then it becomes a matter of, okay, how do I get there? And you start assessing risks in terms of, all right, what does this mean? Well, at the end of my life, it could mean that I lose my house. It could mean that that I can't take my family on vacation, or that I have to sell my car. But what is the reward? What is the outcome? And what I did, I talked with my wife about this early on in our marriage, because when we got married, we didn't have any money at all. And I wanted to take all these risks, and I wanted to make all these investments, and I wanted to try all these different things. And she was very much a conservative person. And I said, listen, we may end up dirt poor. We may end up broke and living in a box on the street. But it won't be from a lack of trying. And as long as we're not going to put ourselves in a position where we're going to lose everything, we're not putting all of our chips on black and then waiting for the roll of the dice. As long as we're taking calculated risks and we're trying to improve ourselves and we're trying different things, that's something that we need to do. I think it's important that you don't spend your life playing it safe, because you're going to end up somewhere between total failure and the success that you always wanted, and it ends up in some level of mediocrity between the two of those. And the last thing that you want to do is be mediocre in your life. At least I would hope.
Yeah, being average for the sake of, like Billy Connolly says, beige, being really beige. There's no other color in your life.
Right.
So yeah. So really, this also comes to the fact that you just mentioned you've got a support team behind you. Behind Team Jason, and that closest ally supporter would be your wife, right?
Oh, without a doubt. I've had a lot of people that I've talked to say, Jason, I've got a passion for this trading thing, and I love what I do, but my wife, or my husband, they're just not on board with me and what I'm doing. And I, my response to that's always similar. That's terrible. I think that you need to go and have a talk with them and try and find some common ground. I said I don't really have any experience with that, because my wife has never been anything but supportive of everything that I've tried to do, even after I was met with defeat after defeat. She never stopped believing in me, and I would not be where I am if I didn't have her support. If I had to fight her in addition to all of the other negativity in my life, and all the other naysayers and all the other people who told me I was crazy, I would have never achieved what I've achieved so far.
Okay, so you don't have the personal experience of it, but would you then say go outside your immediate circle, like your mastermind group, and find other people who are on the same path they may not be your spouse, but on the same path, and understand that this is a process, and it's not going to turn up tomorrow. You're not going to turn into a multimillionaire tomorrow, because you need to change as a person to be the person who can deal with that.
Yeah, I think in addition to that, in addition to finding people who are, I can't remember who said it, but they say, if you want to be a millionaire, don't spend your time with people who make $50,000 a year. Spend your time with people who make $1 million a year. Try and surround yourself with those people. In addition to that, many times you have to sever off relationships with people who are dragging you down, or people who are holding you back, people whose negativity is affecting you in a way that doesn't allow you to achieve your true potential. And without treading too much on some very dangerous ground, and sometimes that's family members. Sometimes that's an aunt or an uncle or a mother or a brother or a sister, that, look, we just can't spend time together because I can't share with you my life, and I can't tell you my story, and I can't, my successes and my struggles are not something that I can spend a great deal of time with you on. And plus, I don't want to hear all the negative input that you give me. I don't want to hear, about how your wife hates you and your dog hates you and how the rent's coming due and how you can't get ahead and about how life's got you on, on tilt. Those types of things screw with, your mental preparedness as you step out into a world that's going to demand that you be ever vigilant and always in good spirits and in a positive state of mind.
Yeah, and like you say, basically totally present to what you're doing and not being distracted by like you say, negativity. This is where I guess your training as in the military would come in. If you're not careful, you're going to get shot, basically.
Yeah, it's. I think that one of the things I learned in the military is that I wasn't special. I went quite a ways in the military. I went into special operations, and I was doing something that very few people ever have the opportunity to do. And one of the things I learned about myself is that I wasn't all that special. I wasn't the fastest. I wasn't the strongest. There was always somebody out there who was faster than me or stronger than me or a little bit smarter than me. But if I applied myself, there was very little that I couldn't achieve. And that played an important role in me as I left the Marines, is that, there was a time, I was scrubbing trailers for $10 an hour to try and make ends meet and make my rent. And during that time, it would have been very easy to say, well, woe is me, look at how far I've fallen, what a joke my life has become, and then, kind of got on the government dole. But I never lost kind of that passion. There's a difference between being broke and being poor. Broke is temporary and poor is a mindset. And I didn't want to have a poor man's mindset. So it was kind of like, yeah, my life sucks right now, but it's not going to suck forever. I'm going to figure this thing out, and this is just a stepping stone. And I think that type of positive attitude, if you're going to be a success at anything, you've got to have that, and especially in trading.
Yeah, because trading actually tells you instantaneously whether you've done it right or wrong, isn't it? It'll slap you in the face or pat you on the back.
Well, no, I would disagree with that somewhat. There are several. There are good trades and there are bad trades, and then there are winning trades and losing trades. And not all winning trades are good trades. There are many times that you make money on a trade and it was a bad decision. You shouldn't have done that. If you do that over time, you're going to lose money. You just happen to get lucky that one time. And so there's feedback comes over time, and that's one of the very difficult things about trading and why it's so counterintuitive, is a lot of times, you'll take a losing trade, another losing trade, another losing trade, another one, and another one, and another one. And when the next trade comes around, you got to take that trade because it'll be the one that pays for all of the losers. Richard Dennis, one of the most successful traders in history, had a trading system that was wrong 70% of the time. He lost 7 out of every 10 trades that he took. But the 3 that he got right were massively right. And he was able to make up all of his losses, and he actually trained people off the street to trade his strategy, and they became some of the most successful traders on earth. And that only happens because the guys are convicted and because they understand their rules and their system, and they're disciplined and to follow them.
So that's the aspect of discipline, and also, like you say, self-belief. And you're saying actually this can be learned.
I think the skill set can be learned. Being able to teach someone how to be disciplined and how to follow the rules, and you put in front of them, you look, if you'll do this and you'll do this every single time, you'll make money. And we prove this time and time again. You know, one of our live trading room, our ratio trading room, which trades patterns. Akil Stokes, who's a former client of mine and who used to be a janitor, then took one of my courses and worked his way up over the next year and a half to becoming profitable, and then started managing a little bit of money. And then I found out what he was doing, and I said, come over here and start teaching people what you're doing. His room this year is up 76%. And you look at that and you just say, my gosh, 76% a year, people would kill for that. And you look at it, you say, well, it only works because every day he comes to the room, he does the same thing again and again and again. If he wasn't doing that, and if he wasn't convicted at that, he wouldn't be successful, no matter how much knowledge and information he has. So while one can be taught the skill relatively easily, it takes a very long time to get that conviction, to learn how to follow the plan. It seems to be something that would be relatively easy, but it proves to be a very, very difficult thing to learn.
Yeah, it's like, it reminds me of a quote by Sun Tzu in The Art of War. It says, if you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle.
Yes.
So basically, it's knowing yourself and working on, it sounds like, it's constantly working on yourself to be a better trader, and not doing the victim thing of saying the market stuffed me up or something happened externally and it screwed up my trade, yeah?
Well, it's a game that you never win, and I would agree that you can't ever play the victim, and that goes for anything in life. You can't be a victim and expect to succeed. But if you're constantly looking at it as a way to evaluate your performance, and you come to it as a student, recognizing that this is not something that you will ever completely learn, because and for those of us who do this for a living, that's one of the real joys, is that every time I come, man, there's always something new. There's a curveball. We've got to learn how to deal with increased volatility versus less volatility, and there's always something new, always something to keep us on our toes. And that knowledge and that constant lifelong desire to learn and grow is something that trading plays into. If that's not you, well, you're probably not going to be successful as a trader, and you probably won't be successful at much, because pretty much all the successful people I know are, they love knowledge, they love information. To your talk earlier about, or question earlier about reading and reading books, I heard a quote one time that said, rich people have big libraries and poor people have big TVs. And I think there's probably more truth to that than we care to admit. That if you spent $1,500 on a TV, but the last book you read was in high school, there's a problem there, and that's limiting your ability to achieve your goals in life.
Okay, so that also includes what it sounds like not paying too much attention to mainstream news, because bad news sells, right?
Yeah, I think a case can be made. I'm a purely technical trader. I don't mean to discount fundamentals. I just think it's very, very difficult for an independent or a retail trader to trade off fundamentals. He's largely guessing. But let's put aside for the moment my belief about fundamentals and just look at news. You will never become successful watching one of the major news outlets comment on what's happening in the market. They will always have an answer for what's happened after it's happened. They will always be able to explain to you why the market is moving after it's moving, but they will never come to you and say, hey, get ready, because at 10 o'clock today there's going to be a major move and it's going to go north, because they don't know. And so most of the commentary is for entertainment value. I have CNBC on at my office because I need to see the news events. I enjoy hearing the speakers, but I don't make my trading decisions off of what CNBC is telling me. I make my trading decisions off of what I see on the chart and by my system that I know works.
Okay, so just finishing off on the area of the news and what's happening in America at the moment, you've got basically a president and Congress having a bit of a chat about how to solve this very large problem. So would you say, regardless of what happens, whatever decision they come to, you as a Forex trader who follows a plan, who knows what he's doing and sticks to his rules, will still come out all right on the other side?
Oh yeah, and one of the things I've talked with people about this as this issue comes up, because it is really serious. We talk about taxation. We're talking about a greater implication, a greater percentage of our wealth being, for lack
Eroded.
of a better term, confiscated by government. And when we deal with issues like that, people tend to have a very negative response. Man, they're just making it harder and harder for a guy to get ahead. One of the great things about it is it doesn't really matter in the trading space. It doesn't really matter what decisions are made. You're able to position yourself to make money regardless of that if you're following a plan. In addition, if one day the tax structure becomes so incompatible with me making money, it's very easy for me to move. The world is becoming more and more flat, and because I don't work for another company, and because I don't have a job that requires me to be any particular place, if we need to go, we can always go. We can always go to another country where the tax structure is better, where people are more friendly, or they respect what you do, or if you want to take a vacation and just say, look, I'm gonna go live in 6 months in Costa Rica, or I'm gonna go to the Bahamas. And I can bring my laptop, or I can bring my computer system down with me. I can have it set up, and I can make money while I'm there. Now, people use that in order to try and sell product, this vision that you can go anywhere and that you can do anything. And I don't mean it like that. What I mean is that when you learn a skill in trading, it's transferable. It's transferable into investing. It's transferable from stocks to futures, from futures to Forex. It's transferable from the United States to Great Britain to France. You are literally become an international man or woman, and opportunities open up to you at that point, and the world becomes a very much more open and much closer place than it was before.
Basically, you're talking about the freedom to choose.
Yeah, as Milton Friedman said, free to choose. You choose your schedule. You choose where you want to work and when you want to work, and even work becomes somewhat of a cliched statement, because it's not really work when you're doing something that you love to do. Now, there's times when you're going through a drawdown when it just is the most miserable thing on earth, but overall, there's nothing else that I'd want to be doing with my life. I get to work with traders every day. I get to see people achieve their goals. People go from losing money to managing money. That's an incredible thing to be able to do and to be able to experience. And you get involved with people's lives. You get to meet their kids. A friend of mine, a client of mine, Darren, his son just had a terrible brain tumor removed, and over the course of the last couple of months has built himself back to health. And he just swam 50 laps at his local pool. This 12-year-old kid who couldn't walk 3 months ago, and I got to experience that with him, and I got to share that joy with him. And that is an incredible experience that I get to be part of because of the work that I do. And I wouldn't trade that for anything. It is by far the best job. I would never want to do anything else.
Wow. So in the last 30 seconds, tell us, what would you say at the end of your days? What is your legacy?
I hope at the end of the day that I'm a good husband to my wife, that my children grow up knowing who I am, and they grow up good kids with a sense of personal responsibility, and that what I've done in my business life and in my professional life, I've always tried to act as a person of honor and as an ethical person. We don't always get it right. I don't always make great decisions. I have catastrophic failures, and I have setbacks, and I have times when I probably could have done things a little bit better. But at the end of the day, I want people to say and to recognize, or hopefully recognize, that, hey, he really cares about the people that he's working with. He has a genuine, heartfelt concern for seeing them be successful. And I've just chosen the financial markets as kind of my area to do that. And so at the end of the day, that's what I hope. I hope that I got good kids and that they still love me when they're old, and that the people that I've been able to help, are able to be successful.
That's a fantastic way to live your life, which I think should be the norm for every person that walks this earth. So, thank you very much, Jason, for spending the hour with us and actually revealing to us your heart and your passion and being so honest and genuine and authentic. So on behalf of your money and your mindset, I'd like to thank you very much. God bless and look for you in the new year. Thank you.
Thanks.
Today's podcast is brought to you by ObesityHotline.com, the silent killer, providing support and encouragement in the prevention of this rising epidemic. Featuring the Body by Vi Challenge. Is there a quick answer to the question? Go to www.obesityhotline.com. You're listening to Real Coaching Radio TV, building a positive network.